for una palabra, NBA. Una palabra. NBA Free Agency Edition. And for that, we bring in our guy, Jorge Sedano. We pulled him away from the tables there in Vegas. He is covering the NBA Summer League. George, let's start with the biggest news of all. Give me your palabra for LeBron in a Lakers uniform.
Easy. Showtime, baby. LeBron brings Showtime back to the Lakers. The show is back in town. And here's the thing, man. If you look at LeBron, it's an amazing final chapter for his career. You're talking about the greatest player in the game right now, playing for the crown jewel of the NBA in the Los Angeles Lakers. And I know what you're saying, Boston fan. You're saying, well, we got more titles. That doesn't matter in this situation. The Lakers are the Yankees. They create the most buzz. LeBron's the best player. He creates the most buzz. A marriage made in heaven, much like his marriage to Magic Johnson. Now, I spoke to Magic Johnson 18 months ago, and I asked him before, I said, who did you talk to before taking this Lakers job? And he said, I spent a week with Pat Riley, picking his brain on everything as far as running an organization, from the training to the nutrition to how to handle free agents, et cetera, et cetera. So that's something familiar to LeBron. LeBron will recognize some of the stuff with the Lakers. But the difference is this. With Pat Riley, LeBron was in military school. It was Pat's way or the highway. Now in Cleveland, he tried to take some of that culture that he learned in Miami there. But then the problem was LeBron had too much on his plate in Cleveland, even though he did trust David Griffin. But before you knew it, David was gone and not there, and LeBron had way too much on his plate in Cleveland. Now with Magic, he's got a guy whose resume he trusts. He knows that he can build something for him. And, again, man, I am impressed with LeBron taking a 4-year deal with a 3-year opt-out, because he's taking the long approach here. He's not going for the instant gratification that he had in Cleveland. He's trusting Magic much like he trusted Pat Riley. But the reason he trusts Magic is beyond just the front office stuff. It's about Magic Johnson, the player. He was one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player in the world at one point, much like LeBron, so they can empathize with each other there. Then, of course, the business acumen of Magic Johnson is basically second to none in the sports world. LeBron is also on that same path. And then, of course, the civil duties, the social issues. They have similar stances, and I think LeBron respects Magic for all those reasons. And for all those reasons, guys will eventually flock to L.A. to play with LeBron and the Lakers again. They're a viable option. Showtime is back.
That is also, Jorge, the patience factor we were talking about earlier. LeBron understands that
But he can't be too patient. He can't.
He needs some time. This team needs a little bit of time. All right.
Yeah, you can't do it overnight, but
we'll see. All right, moving on. Now to the guy that everyone thought would be a Laker, but is actually with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Jorge, una palabra for Paul George, staying in OKC.
My una palabra for Paul George staying in OKC is comfortable. He felt comfortable there. This notion that Paul George was an L.A. kid and he wanted to be back in L.A., I think, look, maybe part of him did dream of being in L.A. last year and being part of the Lakers, but there's a number of things at play here. Let's start with where Paul George grew up, Palmdale. Palmdale is not Los Angeles. Palmdale is miles and miles and miles north of Los Angeles. It's a small town feel, much like Paul George had in Indiana, much like Paul George has in Oklahoma City. Then there's the other aspect of this. Aaron Mintz, his agent, is the agent for Julius Randle, who may have felt a little shunned by the Lakers. Also, the agent of D'Angelo Russell, who was traded by the Lakers. Now, I'm not saying that that's exactly what happened, and that's why he was enticed to not sign with the Lakers, but I did find it strange he didn't even meet with Magic Johnson. But clearly, he felt comfortable with Sam Presti, who, in my mind, is still one of the best GMs in this league. Very few guys have drafted as well as him in his career, and they're able to land a big fish to play with Russell Westbrook. And look, if they find the right complementary pieces around them, that's a team that's going to compete in the Western Conference for the next several years. It's a great move for Paul. It's a great move for OKC. And you know what? He's comfortable, and they're comfortable.
Good for him. And, after I moved to L.A. and LeBron, you can't have all this star power coming into L.A.
I'm very disappointed in Paul George.
Why?
Very disappointed. I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later.
Good for you, Paul. Don't let him bully you around. All right, let's move along. Another name swirling around the Lakers now is Blazers Damian Lillard. We talked about it earlier in the show. George, your palabra for Lillard buzz around the Lakers.
My una palabra for Damian Lillard and the buzz around the Lakers is consolation. And look, I would love to be a GM and have the consolation prize be Damian Lillard. But to me, this is about the Lakers may be coming to the realization that maybe they can't get Kawhi Leonard. Maybe they're not going to be able to land him. So who's the next best player out there that they could land that can make a huge impact and help LeBron James along? Well, they have kind of an issue at point guard right now with Lonzo Ball. We don't know what he is yet. And Rajon Rondo, who's more of a backup at this stage of his career. Damian Lillard solves that problem, right? If you trade Lonzo in a package for Damian Lillard, all of a sudden you got Dame time in L.A. with Bron and Showtime. Man, it makes all the sense in the world. I would love it. I think he's one of the best players in the league. I think he was a top 5 MVP candidate this year. It would be a huge coup for the Lakers. But in essence, it's still a consolation prize because the guy they want is Kawhi Leonard.
Now, George always tries to tell us that Damian Lillard is the guy.
Top 5?
Superstar. NBA big guy, Damian Lillard. He's not. All right, the move that took the NBA by surprise, right, Jorge, your palabra for the Warriors adding Boogie Cousins.
My una palabra for DeMarcus Cousins joining the Warriors, smart. And not for the reasons you may think. Clearly, it's smart for the Warriors to add a guy like Boogie Cousins to the mix. You're talking about a guy who's a top 10 or 15 player in the league. But I'm talking about for DeMarcus Cousins, and here's why. DeMarcus Cousins realized very quickly, if he hadn't already, that the narrative out there about him is that he's a malcontent, that he is a locker room cancer or whatever. Not my words, the words that others may use about him. So when he didn't get the significant offers he was seeking in free agency, he was self-aware enough to realize I need not only rehab for my body, clearly at this point, but I need rehab for my image. And where's the best place to do that? A place that has an established culture, a place that has established veterans, a place that has a championship culture. And that's the Golden State Warriors. If DeMarcus Cousins can't fit in with the Warriors, then he's never going to fit in anywhere. So if he goes to the Warriors, as he's doing now, and does his job, which is plays a role, comes back, fills the void that they need as far as the big man is concerned, and is just a good locker room guy and a good teammate, he's going to reap more benefits next offseason than if he would have just gone anywhere else and put up 26 and 10, because everyone knows that he can put up 26 and 10 when he's right and he's getting the touches. This, to me, is a much bigger deal. It's the most adult move that DeMarcus Cousins could have ever made. I think it's brilliant. I've become a huge Boogie Cousins fan because of this particular move, because he's become self-aware.
Good locker room guy and DeMarcus Cousins.
It's not the best fit. We'll see.
And the Pelicans look great without him in the playoffs as well. So we'll see if it works out for him. I hope so. One more for you, George. The most uncertain situation in the NBA, your palabra for Kawhi Leonard's future.
My una palabra for Kawhi Leonard's future is bumpy, because there's some turbulence coming because we don't know what's happening. Here's the thing. We all know that Kawhi feels disrespected by the San Antonio Spurs, whether it's Greg Popovich or Manu Ginobili or Tony Parker's comments. Clearly, he feels disrespected. Then, more importantly, there's the misdiagnosis. Not once, but twice, because he's had a wrist injury that he felt was misdiagnosed, and then obviously this leg/quad injury that he feels was misdiagnosed. Then there's the notion potentially that the endorsement stuff, the sneaker deal, that he needs to feel like he's going to be in a bigger market to kind of capitalize on that. Now, I don't necessarily buy that as much because I think his personality is the bigger impediment there than anything else. He's kind of a quiet guy. We don't really know who he is. He's not necessarily partaking in social media, but I think it's going to be bumpy for all those reasons. But here's one caveat and one saving grace if you're a Spurs fan. Greg Popovich is the head coach of Team USA. Kawhi Leonard is scheduled to play on Team USA. They're also scheduled to meet here, that Team USA group here, to kind of embark on their next journey. That's one last shot for Popovich and Kawhi to try to get on the same page. If that passes and nothing happens and they're still at an impasse, then you know what? It's going to be an even bumpier ride for Spurs fans.
All right. Good stuff. We covered a lot of the NBA. I thought the season was over. It's bananas.
He's in Vegas.
I know.
Get back to the studio.
He was
Jorge.
in L.A.
Come on.
And then he was in Vegas. The guy is a jet setter. All right. Thanks, George. We will talk to you. We'll see you very soon. Have a good time.
League sources told ESPN that the two-time All-NBA forward wants out of San Antonio with a preference to be traded to the Lakers. Leonard had grown frustrated with how the organization handled his quad injury and feels the franchise turned on him once he sought a second opinion. 4 days later, Leonard met with Greg Popovich out in San Diego with hopes to discuss the issues that have caused their rocky relationship. Leonard had told confidants that he did not want to sit down with Pop, and he had been purposely difficult for the Spurs to reach. All this time, Kawhi had made it known that he prefers to go to the Lakers, and, well, the Spurs weren't having any of that. On June 21st, San Antonio shut the door on Los Angeles during a call regarding a trade for Leonard. However, negotiations did reopen and continue. Then July 1st, while LeBron James agreed to a 4-year, $154 million deal with L.A., Leonard's focus remained unchanged. That, according to our agent, Wojnarowski, he wants to wear the purple and gold and join the Lakers. Leonard could be a free agent after next season.
Stephen A. Smith joining us now right off the First Take special. Stephen A., with each passing day, what's the likelihood Kawhi Leonard will still be a Spur when the season begins?
Well, I still think it's 50-50. First of all, the San Antonio Spurs are not inclined to do business with the Los Angeles Lakers. We know the only reason this is a consideration is because Kawhi Leonard looked Greg Popovich in the face, told him he wants to be out, he wants to leave San Antonio, and obviously the word is leaked to everybody. Everybody and their grandmother knows he wants out of San Antonio so he can go to the Los Angeles Lakers. More importantly, the other teams in the league know he wants to be there, and as a result, he would just be a one-year rental. And considering how valuable of an asset he is, to have to give up so much just to get a one-year rental is not something most teams are inclined to do. As a result, forcing San Antonio to do business with the Lakers or pretty much no one else. It's also putting Magic Johnson in the sweet position of diminishing the level of urgency there is to acquiring Kawhi Leonard, because if he doesn't acquire Kawhi Leonard now, he's of the belief that Kawhi Leonard ultimately will come there next summer. Now what I'm hearing also is the name Damian Lillard, because even though Damian Lillard wants to stay in Portland, and that is his preference, he is also aware of the fact that the Portland Trailblazers is going to have difficulty acquiring marquee free agents. As a result of that, word is leaking out that he would be willing to depart from Portland, even though that's still his preference to stay. He would be willing to depart from Portland to head for the Lakers or the New York Knicks in one of those larger markets. If that were to happen, because that's a reality, rather, you have a situation where Magic Johnson could either continue trying to do business with the San Antonio Spurs to acquire Kawhi Leonard or say, bump it. You know what? I'll wait until next summer when Kawhi is an unrestricted free agent, free to come with us. And now I'll turn my attention to Damian Lillard, who has 3 years left on his deal. And maybe the same assets we were going to offer San Antonio, we can now offer to the Portland Trailblazers in return for the services of a Damian Lillard. And those players would include Alonzo Ball. It would include Brandon Ingram. It would include Josh Hart, maybe even a pick for Damian Lillard. So stay tuned. There's a lot going on right now. We'll see how things unfold.
All right, you mentioned Damian. It was my next question. A fan asked him on Twitter if he'd be happy to join the Lakers and LeBron, and he tweeted back, I'm typically a happy camper. What are the chances Dame pushes to get out of Portland and go to L.A.?
Well, again, it's a difficult situation to surmise because on one hand, Damian Lillard is incredibly happy. Not only is he making in excess of $27 million over the next 3 years, keep in mind that when you take into endorsement that he is the face of that franchise and the face, essentially, of basketball in the Pacific Northwest. So you're talking about him getting anywhere from $40 to $47 million annually coming in. He ain't broke. He doesn't need the money. He's getting paid handsomely, and he's the star out there. So he doesn't mind being out there at all. The problem is Portland has been to the playoffs the last 5 straight years, but they've been bounced out in the first round 3 of those 5 years, including the last 2 years. And when he gets on the phone with the Jimmy Butlers of the world and others, they've made it very, very clear, we love Damian Lillard. You're our brother. We got nothing but love and respect for you. We'd love to play for you, but it ain't too many of us that's willing to come out to the Pacific Northwest and play in Portland. That's the only reason why Damian Lillard would want to move on from there. So since he's willing to move on from there, if indeed they can't get other parts, Portland's under the gun to either deliver him some assets so they can improve and not get swept by the likes of Anthony Davis and the New Orleans Pelicans, or they could move him, make C.J. McCollum the face of the franchise because they could get some instrumental parts for the services of Damian Lillard. It's in Portland's hands because they have him locked in for the next 3 years. They do not want to lose him. They love him, but they recognize the fact that if they can't improve the team, it might be best for them to make a move. Whatever that move is remains to be seen.
Stephen A. Smith, thank you, brother.
All right.